Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and yes, I am sacrificing an hour, a little more than an hour of sleep for you guys. And this video is to Cawthon, who I will talk to in the next video. Well, in the next video he releases. Cat is trying to ruin the video. And it's also this video is also to Emil Macko. Because I loved Five Nights at Candy's 3 and Remastered. And I really think that if he applied similar techniques and controls to Five Nights at Candy's Remastered to the original 3 Five Nights at Freddy's games in like a remaster and not like a reimagining like fazbear's doing or whoever's doing FNAF Plus. I honestly forgot at this point. So here are the ideas. Five Nights, the first four Five Nights at Freddy's games start with an opening cutscene, like in Five Nights at Candy's 3. Sorry if you're kind of disgusted by my tongue and lips. I don't want to get up, and I kind of can't get up with this cat laying on me. So I'm stuck being thirsty. Anyway, like the first FNAF game, will show 3 different sections with each of the missing children being abducted. And the last thing we hear is them screaming. And then there's like this screen where all 3 animatronic heads are like black with their mouths open. Well, not black, but they have dark pits lacking eyes. And then a white dot appears. And FNAF 2 can be something similar. Or, you know, he could change the lore completely to where the first Freddy Fazbear's Pizza does open in 73, but hey, I'm not Scott. So, yeah. And then, like, have FNAF 3 do, like, in the spring, the Bonnie featurette with the spring trap section, where it's got these two guys, Phone Dude and some other guy, probably a junior manager, bust open the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza safe room, and they find Springtrap. And have, like, the first 2 nights be, like, one day before. And have, like, night 1 say one day before the finding, and you're put in the game after it says night 1, 12 a.m. And then the 4th game can open with Michael Afton being Michael Afton, after the death of his brother in 1983, we could say that he was traumatized, Michael was, and because his dad hates Michael, the last thing he wants is Michael to be counseled. But Michael's mother, who we never see in the games, takes him to counseling because he's traumatized. And he's speaking with the doctor like how Mary Schmidt does in fnaf 3. It could even be a similar conversation, except it's with actual voice lines and audio, aside from music. And speaking of, what I really like about FNAF 4, and even more so Sister Location, it was Scott trying to say, hey, I don't have to be overly reliant on creepy music and ambience to have a creepy atmosphere. And that was even more proven at Sister Location. As, yes, there was music to tell when Ballora was close. That was more of an audio cue than ambience. And then, 5 Nights at So those parts you don't have to change. And have like WASD move, but the only change to FNAF 4 I'd make, if I were you, Emil, is WASD are the keys that move you around. W, I believe, would move you to the closet. A and D, obviously the left and right doors. And last but not least, S would turn you around to the bed instead of having to click on everything. And hold the down arrow keys to hold doors shut. And tap on the up arrow key to flash the flashlight on both the bed and hallways. And the sister location, well, it'll still be sister location. Except it's YouTubers doing the voice lines instead of paid actors. Because, you know, in the YouTube community, we like to help each other out. Seriously. Just look at Mario and animatronic horror. Both Eth Goes Boom and Darkbox helped that creator do the Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica voices. I even believe Darkbox did a Mario voice. So, yeah, next we move on to gameplay and atmosphere. So the first 3 games, aside from your audio cues, the occasional voice lines and death lines, either before or after a jump scare, and some things you'll see in the offices, well, the FNAF 1 and 3 offices. What I want you to put in there, Emil, is like these calendars, because, you know, Scott is close to saying I'm done with this franchise, so I'm gonna leave it to you. And I want want somebody who's working with Scott right now when they're done with their own projects, like your own, Emil, to work on this remastered series. Called called Five Nights at Freddy's Remastered Collection on PlayStation 5, 4, PlayStations 4 and 5, being as I'm thinking about getting a PlayStation 5 for Christmas because I don't have any money right now. Sorry, guys. Oh, and FNAF 6 would still be the exact same way Scott did it. So, Scott, I hope you're okay with Sister Location and FNAF 6 Remastered being exactly yours. Your exact versions, except with a fresh coat of paint. And crystal clear graphics. And the FNAF has 1 and 3. I already mentioned the calendars. So, yeah, put in calendars in FNAF 1 and 3 to give us a sense of the timeline. And, next would be the gameplay. Still genuinely the same, except FNAFs 1, 2, and 3, like I mentioned before, have the arrow keys to move left and right. The down arrow key, and if you don't feel like clicking it twice, or even once, if you don't feel like clicking on the cursor area to open the cameras in FNAFs 1, 2, and 3, why not make the up arrow key open the cameras and the down power them off. Up to activate and down to deactivate. If you don't feel like clicking. If you feel like clicking at least once, only click the down arrow key. If you do feel like clicking more than once, be my guest and click them as many times as you want. But I'm just saying, the arrow keys would be a lot more helpful. But for FNAF 2, there would be something different. Down arrow key would be the mask, and up arrow key and click would be and click downward would be the camera. Would be the cameras in FNAF 2. Next would be the sound effects. FNAF 4 and sister location, FNAF 6 and Ultimate Custom Night, for the most part, well, they can stay from the sound effects from the original game. But I wouldn't recommend changing the sounds of the first three. FNAF 1, 2, and 3, the footsteps sound more metallic and thuddy. Like metallic thud and clang when they're moving about. And Foxy's run would sound like constant clanky thuds, like running down the West Hall. And the next thing would be the game over screens. And the jump scares. Well, the jump scares, for the most part, will be the same thing. Aside from Springtrap and a few of the FNAF 2 animatronics, like Toy Bonnie, both Withered and Toy Chica, Mangle would shake her head a little before she did come down and bite you. And Foxy, you'd see him run down the hall, jump at you, but you wouldn't die at the jump scare. You'd be scared by him punching you, and then stabbing into your eye. Well, you'd be scared by you trying to defend yourself and he crushes your hand and then kills you by poking your eye out. Which means that would finally be a jump scare with a death scene. And FNAF 4 would also have death scenes. Where, your vision would be disfigured, and you'd see faint amounts of blood. Now for the cutscenes. Well, end cutscenes. I'm sorry that I'm taking long breaths. Instead of night and mini games in FNAFs 1 and 2, there'd be little cutscenes instead of, all this stuff. FNAF 1 would start with by you opening up the game only to see either Susie or Cassidy being killed. Most likely Susie. And you'd see her as a little blonde girl you'd hear her screaming, and then you'd see a knife being swung at her throat, and you'd hear her screaming. And the screen would fade to black, with Chica's head becoming visible, but it's got black pits, but she's missing her eyes, only showing black. And then 2 white dots light up, showing that she has possessed Chica. And then the FNAFs 1 through 4 night endings would have similar cutscenes, except these would be broken into pieces. Each cutscene is similar to Chica's birth scene. Before you could see what happened to the next kid, the screen would fade black and show what animatronics the kid that had just died possessed, becoming, well, possessed. And then the next night end cutscene would follow up by showing the next kid being killed. Then night 3, new set of kids, being as the first one could either be Freddy and Bonnie or Foxy and Freddy. What we do know is that Golden Freddy becomes possessed last. So it would show either Bonnie, Foxy, or Freddy in the night 3 ending cutscene. You'd see that child getting killed. And then when night 4 ends, the cutscene shows her inside of Golden Freddy, screaming for help. And as you know, nobody helps her. She's the last one to die. And you'd see Williams setting off Golden Freddy's spring locks with a poor Cassidy stuck inside. And then that would be the end of FNAF 1's cutscenes. In FNAF 2's cutscenes, the first 6, well, they would in fact be death scenes. The first one would either be at Fredbear's Family Diner, the original, or maybe at this point it's the second Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, or, yeah, let's just say that there was the one before the 83 Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. There was a first one started in 1980, where unlike you had metallic doors, you had regular doors with a lock button that you'd have to hold shut. If that's not how Scott saw it, oh well, at least we get a peek of it. And we get a peek of Charlie at the original Freddy's in the year 1983, being as the books have her die that year. Let's just say the game opening shows her getting stabbed. Then we see her, a bleeding Charlie on the verge of death, being with the security puppet laying on her to ensure that she'll live on beyond death. Which shows her, and then we hear her final breath and her heartbeat stop with a black screen. And then the puppet's mask would appear and white lights glow, showing Charlie has been risen from the dead, which that gets the original Freddy's shut down that year in early 1983. Just as the new Freddy's is beginning to open. Or maybe it's late 1982 when she dies, and her death gets Freddy's closed down. Let's just say 82. Cool. So, yeah. So it gets the new Freddy's open in March of 83. Cool? Cool. Peace. And then the first 5 nights before you get your night 5 paycheck, on night 5, you go through 5 more death scenes. But when you add it up all together, it's one big cutscene. Well, not exactly. Something weird that we've now noticed about Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the original Freddy Five Nights at Freddy's game in FNAF 2, is William Afton takes a weird pattern with his victims. His first victim in each game has him kidnap one child, kill them, and stuff them into a suit. Where Charlie the puppet uses their agony trapped in the safe room and brings it to the animatronic. Which would allow them, their souls trapped in their dead bodies, which have been hidden in the animal robot performers, which causes the robot performers to become possessed. And then the next two times William kidnaps in each game, he gets caught in 1985 in the original game, 2 years after the restaurant opened, because of kids going missing. But unlike the original newspapers saying, he serves a little time in jail until late 1986 when he's set free. But in FNAF 2, when he gets caught, he's most likely arrested and sentenced to life in jail. And then the last cutscene in Night 6 for FNAF 2 would show Mangle hanging by the ceiling as Jeremy the night guard is about to leave, and jump scare time. In the middle of the cutscene, and she bites him on the head. And then it goes to later on when he wakes up in the hospital thinking, what just happened? And the doctors have removed his frontal lobe, or maybe Mangle bit it out, but wouldn't that also take out his eyes? Let's just say she did. This video's already getting long enough. FNAF 2, and then FNAF 3, the Night End minigames. The game would open with him melting down Fredbear's endoskeleton. And no, I don't mean Golden Freddy's. They're the same character. Golden Freddy just has a different head than Fredbear does. They're the exact same character. Golden Freddy is FNAF 1 Golden Freddy is different because she's a ghost. Because Cassidy is a ghost in that game. The Fredbear suit has already been destroyed after Five Nights at Freddy's 2 because of being used to kill kids by William Afton. You know? But Spring Bonnie hasn't been broken yet. It'll show William taking a old and rusted Fredbear endoskeleton and melting it down. And then there'd be other cutscenes with broken pieces of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy from FNAF 1. And William will chuck their endoskeletons into the same pit of boiling metal. Or should I say melting metal? And him melting down their agony and the souls and agony fused inside of their endoskeletons to create, well, innard. And then we see a 3D cutscene of both the crying child as Shadow Freddy, Charlie's soul, hallucinated by William to be the puppet, and Golden Freddy's spirit, Cassidy. Each of the animatronics we see are hallucinated to be Charlie, Cassidy, and a stitched together head and neck of the crying child. Because we start out in William's perspective, then we go to 3D when he's putting on a rotted Spring Bonnie suit while they're trapping him in the safe room. Cassidy saying, "You killed me, and now you're gonna get a piece of my mouth. You're gonna experience the same death I had, but a lot more painful." And as if on cue, the safe lock, the spring locks on the mouth activate, snapping into William's jaw and cheeks, which would have killed him, but the blood trickled down his neck, activating the spring locks around all directions of his throat, and caused the other spring locks on the torso to go off, and they all stabbed into the bottom of his neck and crushed his entire torso with stab wounds. I know that doesn't make sense, but that's how the spring locks work according to Scott. And Golden, and the last thing we see is a dying William, or an injured one, trying to call out to help but failing. And no, I don't believe he didn't die. If this were real life and that happened to him, you'd most likely be instantly dead the moment the stab wound entered your neck. So let's just say that the remnant kept him alive for a little while. And then he, woke up a few weeks later after the safe room had been sealed off and with 2x4 boards. And now he's trapped there. Oh no, the nights will open with him. You first load the game or click on new game. It shows William doing what he did to the fazbear endoskeleton, not the opening of the game. When you first boot up the game, it shows them finding Springtrap. Or, in this case, William's dead body. But yeah, aside from those mechanic changes, inclusions of cutscenes to help us theorists in the YouTube community, like Darko, fnaf, the YouTube channel, and the game theorists, so we can finally figure out the lore of Five Nights at Freddy's. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.